What is up, guys? Team Yugi Feels here, and today I am going to be doing another deck profile, and we're going to be taking a look at another 60 card pile, as I am becoming more and more fond of playing 60 card piles again. I haven't played one since Ash Blossom first came out, which I think was 2017 or 2018, so the fact that I'm starting to really get the passion to do them again is fantastic. I think they're very, very fun and enjoyable to play. And today we're taking a look at not PK Fire, because we already profiled that. We're taking a look at pure Burning Abyss with some back row. The typical trap Burning Abyss that everyone knows and loves. This deck, in my opinion, gets more consistent at 60 cards, ironically enough. Usually, a lot of other decks, they're not as consistent. But I think that with the amount of cards that you don't necessarily want to draw, it's okay if you do, but you may not want to draw them. The deck being, a higher card count in the long run actually results in a better percentage of you not drawing the cards that you don't want, which is fantastic. It's exactly what you're looking for. It's the ratios that help out a lot, and just simple mathematics. If you guys know how to use a hypergeometric calculator, that's what I use to determine all of my ratios in most of the decks that I play. It's a very, very useful tool. If you guys don't know how to use it, I definitely advise going and learning how to use one, because they are thoroughly advised for competitive play. That being said, I'm going to hop into the deck profile here. I just have to separate the monsters from spells and traps, because that is a lot of cards to hold. So we do play a large Burning Abyss count in this deck, a very large Burning Abyss count. So we have the triple Graph, which is pretty basic. The triple Seer, which in a 60 card list is very basic. A triple Farfa, which, once again, 60 card list, pretty basic. And same with the triple Skarm. I think that these are the 3 ofs that should be played. I do have some 2 ofs that I'm going to be showing off, but in my opinion, these are the best 3 ofs that you should be shooting for. It obviously depends on how you want to, kind of shape and build your list. But for a pure version, this is probably the cards that you want to stick to with 3s. As far as 2s go, I play 2 Libic. And other than that, I play the 1 offbeat one, which I don't play very often, which is 2 Rubik. So I'm playing the Halka-Fibrax engine in here, and the Rubik really is what gets you into that engine. And it's also another Burning Abyss name, which is why I primarily play it. I don't like playing just one of this, because if I get rid of it, granted, you can get it back with Seer, but you don't really want to get it back with Seer. You're just better off summoning it off of Graph. At the same time, as I mentioned before, it is another Burning Abyss name, so that's also pretty useful. And then for the 1-ofs, nothing super crazy here. We have a Barbar, a Calcab, and an Alec, however you want to call it. I think that these are just your okay 1-ofs. You don't need more than one. They're not utilized excessively. The only one that you could argue is used a little more is the Barbar. And even that, you're not going to see pop up a very large amount of times. Overall, though, 19 card Burning Abyss lineup, which is a pretty large amount, considering most of my lists are like 10, so we're looking at basically double. Then as far as the extenders go, of course, the triple Tour Guide and the triple Rhino Warrior. This is just very, very powerful in 60 cards. In 60 cards, I think that this is definitely the proper ratio to be going about things with. It just kind of gets you to where you need to be. They're basically another 6 Burning Abyss monsters. That's essentially what, Tour Guide and Rhino Warrior are, which is fantastic for the deck. Then the one card that I'm bouncing back and forth on as to how I'm going to do the ratios with is the 2 Backjack. I think that it comes up semi-frequently, but at the same time, I don't think it's always necessary to play 2. I'm still, like, even in a 60 card list, thinking of playing just 1. At the same time, I'm not sure yet. I kind of have to play around a little more and see how I like it, but I think so far playing 2 is probably the correct thing to do. Then some hand traps. I play 3 Ash Blossom, so Ash is really, really good this format. Ash and Ghost Bell are probably the 2 best, and then followed up by probably like Droll and Nibiru, in no particular order. But Ash is just really, really good against so many different cards in the meta right now that you should be playing 3 Ash no matter what. The next card is, it's just a 1-of, as crazy as that sounds, but considering I mentioned the Halka-Fibrax engine, it should make sense. If anyone needs like further explanation, I can explain in like the comments or something. It may also be a card that I add a second copy of for taking out the Backjack if I take the Backjack out. So keep in mind, I do have some thoughts rolling in my mind that I might play around with a little bit. But we play the 1 Veiler for the Halka-Fibrax engine. It's just the 1 card that you summon, and then you use the Halk and the Veiler to make the Selene. in. That's really all that it's here for. I don't want to draw this card. I just really don't want to draw it anyways. It's not a great hand trap for the most part anyways, so I'd prefer to keep it in deck and just play it out when I need to play it out. That is the entire monster lineup, though. It's, I believe, 31 cards, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong, but I think it's 31. Don't hold me to that, though. But moving on to the spell cards that we're playing, of course, 3 Forbidden Droplet. This card is super important in this format against, you know, your top 2 decks especially, you know, in that of Drytron and, you know, your virtual world players that are trying to turbo out VFDs. So this card is just ridiculously powerful against everything. It shuts off a lot of their boards. It's just good against most of the meta right now, except for like your back row stuff. But even then, you have some cards that you're gonna have to out with a card like Droplet. Then in the main deck, I opted to go with Twin Twisters, and the reason that I opted to go with it is because of the Burning Abyss triggering their effects in the graveyard. Granted, I think Cosmic Cyclone is technically a better card for the Eldritch matchups. I think that because of the functionality that Twin Twisters gives to the Burning Abyss engine, that it's probably better just to go with the Twisters instead. Then the one-ofs, just 1 Reborn and 1 Foolish Burial. It's pretty simple, straightforward. I don't think that these need any explanation. They're basically bomb cards in your deck. If you guys know the theory behind bomb cards and ratios, then you'll understand what I'm talking about. If not, maybe at some point I'll make a video on it, but I don't like to share those tips very often with people. Moving on to the trap lineup, though, very large trap lineup. We have 3 Imperms, so we technically are playing another hand trap. Granted, I'm not a huge fan of it. There are instances where this card does come in handy, so definitely consider it, even if you don't like it, as I don't. It still is pretty good. And for some banishing stuff, we have the Ice Dragon's Prisons and the Dynamiscus. I think that playing 3 of each of these in a 60-card pile is ideal. It's optimal. It's just something that functionality-wise is phenomenal. Dynamiscus comes up sometimes too, where you can utilize it to make like a Nightmare Unicorn with like a Masquerena, and that's actually pretty cool. And we have the Torrential Tributes, which I think are just amazing overall. And then the Fiend Griefings, which are also amazing. The Griefings really help with the backjack play. So, like, you can just dump a backjack, and then you can, you know, look at the top cards of your deck, and you can rearrange them, and hopefully get another trap card off of it, which is even better. But, you know, Fiend Griefing, taking care of the graveyard as well is very important, in addition to your Ice Dragon's Prison, because this entire format is basically graveyard reliant. If you can eliminate the graveyard, you're probably doing something right. That's why Dimension Shifter is an amazing card. Then the weird trap card that I'm playing, I needed basically cards 57 through 60 or 58 through 60, whatever it is. I'm playing 3 Stormy Air Force, so I know that some people have been playing Mirror Force anyways, and I think that's a really cool tech, to be perfectly honest. Not many people expect it, and I can't see myself playing like Karma Cut. I honestly, like, I know I get Karma Cut has like its advantage, but I really don't like Karma Cut that much in comparison to something like Stormy Mirror Force. I just think this card is better. It gets rid of a full board rather than just a card on field and a card in graveyard. Then last card that we play, of course, Triple Trap Trick. This this should have gone without question. Card's just way too good. You could play more Paleozoic monsters if you want, but I don't think that they're that important to the list. That is the main deck, though. 60 cards. We're going to hop on over to the extra deck now. Take a look at all the beautiful Dantes. So we have 2 Dante. I don't think you need 3. 2 is perfectly fine. Your opponent goes for their Maximus play. You can send both of these and then just add both of them back off of their effects. So that's pretty cool. We have the Levier, the Sea Dragon, which is really good with the backjack and pretty good with the bar as well. So this is definitely something to consider if you're not playing it already. The Downward, which is basically here for the Zeus play. I've explained it before. Let's say you have a Dante that has no materials and you attack directly with it because you've successfully cleared your opponent's board. And then main phase 2, you overlay the Downward into the Dante, and then the Downward into a Zeus. And now you have a Zeus that can trigger, which is actually pretty significant to most game states. Then we have the 1 Beatrice. For obvious reasons, you want to end on this in Masquerena when possible. If you can't, then it's probably Gravity Controller and Beatrice, which is still pretty powerful, not going to lie. It's still a very, very strong board. Then we have the 1 Zeus. That's, you know, what I just described. I just gave you guys basically the entire play there of how to utilize it. Zeus is pretty good. No complaints there. So I'm actually not playing the Pilgrim in this list either because I didn't have space for it, considering I'm playing the Halka-Fibrax engine. If I wasn't playing the Halka-Fibrax engine, then I'd probably fit in a Pilgrim, a Boral Sword, and maybe like a Break Sword. But I think that the Halka engine is way too good. So I do play the one gravity controller. There are times where you're going to need to go into this rather than anything else. It does happen. It's not bad. It really isn't a bad play. You're still ending on 2 monsters on the field, one of which is an interruption, and then possible back row too. So that's also a big advantage. We play the Cherubini and the Masquerena. This is fairly basic. I don't think that this needs excessive explanation. The Cherubini is the only card that I would consider cutting, but even then, it helps you link climb in those games where you're going second and you can break your opponent's board. So I think that Cherubini has some advantages. The Masquerena is just there for like your end board plays 99% of the time. Then, of course, the Nightmare package. This should go basically without question for the most part, playing the Cerberus, the Phoenix, and the Unicorn. This engine is just something that in this deck in particular is crazy. On your opponent's turn, you can obviously make the Unicorn with the Masquerena, and then if it goes back to your turn, you can just use 2 cards to make either a Cerberus or a Phoenix and hopefully get rid of an opponent's card on their field. And because it'll be co-linked with the Unicorn, you'll also get to draw a card, which is even better. There have been plays where I've actually been able to resolve both on the following turn, and I've drawn 2 cards off of them, which is really good. And then just been able to go into an access code and OTK my opponent, which is pretty cool. Now, moving on to the rest of the extra deck, we have the Hulk, we have the Selene, and we have the access code. This is a ridiculous engine. Very, very underrated currently. I know that Stryker was playing it for a while. It depends on the list. Some of them still are, some of them aren't. But I think that overall, taking into consideration the level of spell speed, I don't even, cheating, we'll call it spell speed cheating, because you can't even negate the access code effect, which is crazy. Well, it's basically like a spell speed 4, you know, not being able to be negated at all, which is crazy. This card is just ridiculously good. The only problem is that if you do like 5 summons in a turn, now you're, you know, prone to Nibiru on the resolution. But overall, really good engine. Plays through Dragoon because you can just attack over stuff, which is very, very important, being able to clear out your opponent's board, especially those pesky Dragoons. That is the extra deck, though. We're going to hop on over to the side deck. As I always mention, the side deck is always a work in progress, but I think I like the side deck, to be honest. I'm going to have to test this deck out at locals and see how it does. I'll probably play some games on Dueling Book 2 and see how those run. So let's hop into the side deck. We have 3 Vanities. Fiend. Vanities Fiend is kind of a very old Burning Abyss staple. It's one of those cards where like a lot of people don't consider playing it for whatever reason, but if you know you're going first, you might as well try and draw into it. So I think that the Vanities Fiend is pretty cool. Then we need some more monster negations, and we get that through the ability of Dark Ruler No More. Dark Ruler No More is a very, very strong card, and you know, considering the level of the meta right now, being able to end on 2 VFDs, most people aren't going to shotgun it because you might have like an Imperm or you have a Gamma. So typically speaking, it's definitely a good call to be playing this card because your opponent most likely won't have any chains to it, unless they have like a Chuchi on board, and then they can technically use the VFD, but that's a whole other scenario that we won't get into. Then some more back row removal. We have 2 Storm and 1 Feather Duster. If you want to play Cosmics, go for it. It's totally up to you guys. I'm just giving you basically a skeleton of what I'm playing with and testing, and I really like this for back row removal. Then for some other back row removal and just kind of general field removal, evenly matched. I mean, this card is just so underrated. I don't know why like people really aren't playing it, considering the number of Eldritch decks running around right now. Like the fact that you can just go into this card and, you know, stop Eldritch from functioning essentially is ridiculous. So playing the evenly is actually a solid choice against what is probably the 3rd best deck in the meta currently, in that of your Eldritch variants. Then moving on to the last card that I'm playing, it's one of the other cards that I play for when I know that I'm going first, and that is triple Solemn Judgment. I think that Judgment is just a really good card overall because it can actually negate cards like your opponent's Hard Piece Feather Duster, their Lightning Storm, their Evenly, because when they see that you're playing Trap BA, they're probably going to side in some back row removal, and Solemn Judgment is there to stop that. In addition to that, you could obviously negate other cards too, but the Judgment is typically going to be there to stop your back row from, being removed by your opponent. That, however, does wrap up the side deck, taking us to the end of our Burning Abyss 60 card pile trap deck profile. One of my absolute favorite ways to play Burning Abyss, just playing a whole big stack of cards and going to town with it. It's just so fun to play. But that basically brings the video to an end here, guys. So if you enjoyed it, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Comment down below what you think. I really love playing 60 cards in this deck. It seems so wonky, but the fact that it works is even better. That's why I love playing weird ratio decks, because it's something interesting and different to try. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video, as I said prior, and obviously that thumbs up button is always needy. The comment section is always a party, and make sure you hit that subscribe button and notification bell, because I upload fairly frequently. I want to make sure that everyone is getting some cool content, especially around the holiday season. So if I don't see everyone, make sure everyone have a Merry Christmas, and I will definitely post a video before the new year. For right now, this is Team Yugi Feels signing out.